Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you a story that might quietly change the way you look at your own mind. Not with magic, not with shortcuts, but with something far more powerful: control. This is the story of a young man named Arjun, and the unseen battle that decided the direction of his entire life. Arjun wasn't poor, and he wasn't rich. He wasn't a genius, and he wasn't slow. He was just average in every way that people like to measure. Average grades. Average confidence. Average dreams. But inside his head, nothing was average. His mind was loud. Every morning, before his feet even touched the floor, his thoughts were already racing. You're late. You're not good enough. Others are better than you. Why even try? He believed these thoughts without questioning them, the same way most of us do. To Arjun, thoughts felt like facts. If his mind said he would fail, then failure felt inevitable. If his mind said people were judging him, then every glance became proof. Slowly, without realizing it, his mind became his prison. At school, he avoided answering questions even when he knew the answer. His heart would pound, his palms would sweat, and his mind would whisper, "What if you're wrong?" So he stayed silent. At home, he wanted to try new things, learn new skills, maybe start something of his own, but another voice stopped him. People will laugh. You'll quit anyway. So he did nothing. Days turned into months, months into years, and Arjun began to feel stuck. One evening, after another day of doing everything except what he wanted to do, Arjun sat alone on the rooftop of his house. The city lights flickered below, and for the first time, he asked himself an honest question. Is my life really this hard, or is my mind making it hard? That question didn't bring instant answers, but it opened a door. A few days later, Arjun met an old teacher from his school. They sat together, talking about life, work, and pressure. The teacher listened carefully as Arjun spoke about fear, doubt, and overthinking. When Arjun finished, the teacher smiled gently and said something simple. Your biggest problem is not your situation. It's that you believe every thought your mind produces. Arjun was confused. If I think something, he said, doesn't that mean it's true? The teacher shook his head. Your mind is like a tool. A powerful one. But if you don't learn to control it, it will control you. That sentence stayed with Arjun. That night, lying in bed, he noticed his thoughts for the first time instead of drowning in them. His mind said, tomorrow will be stressful. And for the first time, Arjun replied silently, maybe. Or maybe not. It felt strange, but also freeing. He began to practice something small. When a negative thought appeared, he didn't fight it. He didn't panic. He simply observed it. This is just a thought. Not a command. Not a prediction. Just a thought. At first, it was hard. His mind resisted. It wanted drama, fear, and worry. But Arjun stayed patient. Each morning, he sat quietly for 5 minutes, focusing on his breath. Thoughts came and went like clouds, and instead of chasing them, he let them pass. Slowly, something changed. The same situations that once controlled him began to lose their power. When a teacher asked a question in class, his mind still whispered, "What if you're wrong?" But now there was another voice, calmer, stronger. "Even if you're wrong, you'll learn." And that voice felt like freedom. He started raising his hand. Sometimes he was right. Sometimes he wasn't. But something amazing happened. Nothing bad followed. No disaster. No humiliation. Just experience. Outside of school, Arjun decided to test his mind in another way. He chose one small habit that required discipline. Every day, no matter how he felt, he would read 10 pages of a book. Some days his mind screamed, "Not today." Some days it said, "You're tired." But Arjun had learned something important. He didn't have to obey every thought. He read anyway. That simple habit became proof. Proof that the mind could be guided instead of followed. Proof that feelings didn't have to decide actions. And with that proof, his confidence grew, not loud confidence, but quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need approval. Months passed. Arjun wasn't suddenly perfect. He still had bad days. He still felt fear. But fear no longer decided his future. When his mind created worst-case scenarios, he acknowledged them and chose to act anyway. When doubt appeared, he treated it like background noise, not a stop sign. One day, Arjun stood in front of a group of people to give a presentation. The old Arjun would have found an excuse to escape. His heart still beat fast, his hands still trembled slightly, but inside, he was calm. He knew something now that he hadn't known before. I am not my thoughts. As he spoke, he made mistakes. He paused. He corrected himself. And the world didn't end. Instead, people listened. Some even nodded. When it was over, Arjun felt something new, not pride, not relief, but clarity. The real victory wasn't the presentation. It was the control. Years later, when someone asked Arjun what changed his life, he didn't talk about motivation or luck. He said something simple. I learned to train my mind instead of letting it train me. And this is where the story quietly becomes about you. Right now, your mind is talking. It might be reminding you of past failures. It might be worrying about the future. It might be telling you that change is hard, that you're late, that others are ahead. But here's the truth most people never learn. A thought is just a suggestion, not an order. You don't have to silence your mind. You don't have to eliminate fear. You only need to stop letting those things make decisions for you. Control doesn't mean force. It means awareness. It means choosing action based on values, not emotions. When you control your mind, you control your reactions. When you control your reactions, you control your habits. And when you control your habits, you quietly shape your destiny. Life doesn't become easier when you master your mind. But you become stronger. And that strength changes everything. So the next time your mind tells you to give up, pause. Observe the thought. And then take one small step forward anyway. That single step, repeated daily, is the real power of controlling your mind. If this story connected with you, remember this moment. Remember that awareness is the beginning of freedom. And freedom always starts inside.